there, Diana from Adirondack Girl at Heart. I teach vintage and antique lovers how to create successful antique businesses that they love. One of the ways I do that, oh my gosh, one of the ways I do that is through these videos and my website, AdirondackGirlAtHeart.com. It's filled with all kinds of articles about different vintage and antiques, along with vintage DIY projects. I hope you'll check that out. I'll leave the link down below. Today I'm sharing the vintage and antiques that I found while visiting 3 thrift stores this last weekend, along with some treasures that I uncovered in my garage. I was out there looking for something and I came across an entire box of vintage and antiques that I've never talked about, I've never shown on a video, I've never offered for sale, I've never taken any photos of them. So I pulled out a bunch of items from that box that I think will be kind of interesting to take a look at. And stick around till the very end and I'll share with you one of the items that sold for me yesterday on Etsy. Okay, so the best stop on my 3 thrift store stop was Pickers Nation. It's in Ravena, New York, so if you're local, you could check that one out. It is an antique mall. It's full of a whole bunch of different antique sellers, and it was very fun. I hadn't been there in years and years, so they've expanded since I had been there, and I found a couple cool things. All right, so here's the first one. It is the wide mouth telephone jar. I have seen photos of this fruit jar in the past, but I've never seen one live, and I've certainly never purchased one. So I paid $8 for it. I think it's worth about $25 to $30. It's nice aqua color. It's a lightning seal, right? That's what you call these, the bales. I'm going to work a little bit on the rust there, but otherwise it's in really good shape, no chips or cracks, and it's not cloudy. It's a little bit cloudy up here, but that's grime, so that's going to come off. I have an entire course available over on Etsy all about canning jars. It's a downloadable PDF, so you can use it at your leisure, but it gets into the history and the values of different fruit jars. And I'll add this one to that course. So that's the first item. Just a second. Okay. Now, I also picked up, this is it's an ointment, you can see that. I loved the label and the look of the tin. It was $3. What really sold me is that this was made in Ballston Spa, New York. I don't know if you can see that down there. And that's like not too far from here, about 45 minutes from where I live. And I go there all the time. There's great antiques there. If I were going to sell it, I kind of bought it for like to take photos, you know, to have it in photos. But I would put $10 or $12 on that. The local manufacturer makes it interesting. Okay, 2 little items that I picked up. I'm calling this a toothpick. I guess it could be a child's, you know, cup. It was 75 cents. And I will sell it for about 10 as a toothpick. And then, oh my gosh, the cutest little creamer in the world. It's restaurant wear, 50 cents. We'll probably put $7 or $8 on that. Now I have an article on crayons, if you can believe that. An article on crayons coming up. And so I picked these up. New Pack is the company. It still has its crayons inside. Unused crayons. I don't think they're worth a whole lot, but man, there's a lot of different companies that made crayons, not just Crayola. So I paid a full $2 for those. Not really worth anything except for to me when I write that article. Okay. Then I have another article coming up on letter openers, and this is Lennox. Signed right there. This is probably one of the nicer, I don't know if you can see that, nicer letter openers that I picked up, with this beautiful porcelain handle. It was $5, and I think on Etsy it would be worth about $20. maybe even more. I'd have to take a look. Have to do a little research on that. Okay, so the last item from the thrift store is my favorite. So, picked up this tin for $25. Well, actually, it was 25% off. So it was 18 something. And it's filled with these antique buttons. So there are more than 18 cards of buttons in here, which means that I spent less than $1 per card, which is about what I will typically spend on a card of buttons. And I have a number of articles about buttons that I'll link to down below. But it's a woman in a speedboat. Appropriate adornments. So these are mother of pearl buttons. And what I plan to do with these is I frame them. So I'll put the little photo corners on them, put them on some black cardstock, and frame them in nice old antique frames. And they sell for about $15 to $20 each. I enjoy making them, and I think they look really cool. So like the corner's gonna cover up that little defect. This is interesting. It's buttons and a belt buckle. This is the only torn one that I would frame, and I'll just even that out on the top. Here's a great example. Here's very interesting gray. Here's some blue. I mean, they're just so cool. This one has some issues on the card, right? And somebody wrote, that's too bad. But I'll figure out a way to cover that up. And just pretty little pearl buttons, some tan buttons, some black buttons, and last ones, some multi. People really like them. I sell them usually at the Shaker gift shop that I sell from. But I might, since I have so many here, I might try them from my antique booth as well. So that was my favorite purchase from the thrift stores. Now let's take a look at some of the things I pulled out of my garage. So I have a big stack of cookbooks, and I decided not to show them all at the same time because that can kind of get a little bit boring. But I'll show you a few. First of all, I have some pamphlets. So little cooking pamphlets, Frigidaire, electric range. So cute, that image right there. It was $1. I hate it when they put the price tags right on the thing. This is 1940s, dates to the 1940s, and it has some images on the inside. I sell these pamphlets for anywhere from, like, when they're large like this with attractive cover, and a little bit older, anywhere from like $4 to $8, depending, right? Depending. So this one, I would probably put $6 on that one. Then I always pick up Pennsylvania Dutch. They go super fast. This is from the 1980s. I'll probably put 4 or 5 on that one. But here's an older one. I don't think this one had a date, or maybe it did. Let me see. Yes, 1953. So I'll probably put 6 or 7 on that one. And then here's the walnut, diamond walnuts. A little bit older. The date on this one, yeah, I don't think this one had a date, so I'm gonna say 1940s on that one. Also, probably put $5 or $6 on that. And then this is the coolest one. This is Campbell's soup recipes, but for Girl Scouts. And I remember back when I was in Girl Scouts, one of the meals that one of the leaders served was, she just kept opening different huge cans of different Campbell's products, throwing them into a pot. And it was, I think it was called Girl Scout stew. And it was terrible. I really did not like that at all. So I was looking through this to see if there was something like that. And the closest I found was, where is it now? Hiker's Bean Soup. 7 cans of Campbell's Bean with Bacon soup. A bunch of water. 2 cans of tomatoes. 2 cups of lima beans and some Worcestershire sauce. Anyway, I thought it was terrible, but Girl Scout items sell. I've been collecting a few other things and I might group them together and list them on Etsy. This one was $1. And then the last pamphlet is this baking soda. They always have the greatest images on the back, like that framed, and the front framed would be fantastic. And it dates to 1931. So $6 or $7 on that one. And then I do pick up some of these cookbooks that are usually like more locally made. This one, usually like by churches and schools and things like that. What attracted me to this one is its gourmet wild game tastes from simple recipes. So there's a lot of hunters in my area, and so anything related to hunting or cooking what you hunt sells really well. So I'm going to put $10 on that one. And now I have 2 cookbooks. So I'm in Shaker country. The gift shop I'm in is a Shaker site. And so Shaker things sell, again, like the game, sell very well. This one, I think I will price at about $15. It's very substantial. The copyright was 1985, but then on the back it says 1993. So nice image on the front, and that was $1. I won't pay usually much more than $1 for a cookbook because I sell them in the $10 to $12 to $15 range, and the same with the pamphlets, $50 cents to $1. So this is a new cookbook for me, the American Everyday Cookbook. It was $1, and there's the price right there, $1. The copyright is 1955. The best thing about, well, one of the best things, because there's 2 things, is the cover. Look at that cover. Isn't that awesome? And it's been nicely protected by the dust jacket, except for right up there. I mean, I'm tempted. I want to sell it like this, but of course, having the dust jacket is very nice. So I'm thinking 12 to 15 on this one, and it came with all kinds of handwritten recipes, recipes from different newspaper and magazine articles. There was kind of a cool one in here that I'm not gonna find. Let me see. From the newspaper, sometimes the back of the recipe is the most interesting part. So this is the back, and it also gave the date, so 1956. And the recipe is for Josie's cheesecake. No idea who Josie is, but so that's that for the cookbooks. I'm just gonna set these aside. So another item that I pulled out from the garage is this platter, which honestly, I might have already shown you this. I just can't remember. Maybe one of you will remember. This is Shannon Pattern by George Jones and Sons, which is a very kind of high-end pottery in England. So there's the mark on the back. And it was $4 at a Restore, Habitat. Just thought it was so beautiful. This raised sort of embossed floral design, and then the pink trim. Platters are cheap at thrift stores for a reason, and antique shops. That's because they're not selling great. So probably $25, something like that. I mean, back in the day, 10 or 15 years ago, I could have put probably 50 on that and it would have sold well. Things have changed, right? Okay, also from the garage, a little German not gravy, right? It's not big enough for gravy. Some kind of sauce. It's a little sauce boat. And it was $1.50. It is worth about $9 from my antique shop. Is where I would sell that. And then here's a salt. So it says set of 6 salts. Well, I picked it up at a sale for 50 cents because there was only one. And very pretty little like tassel engraving right here along the edge, super delicate. And I would probably put $8 or $9 on that from my antique booth. And then here is a Fenton shoe. I always pick these up because they always sell. It was $1 and it should sell for 10 or 12. And I do have an article about Fenton on my website, so I'll link to that down below. That's the shoe. And then here, I'm very enamored by these milk glass jars with the aluminum lids. This is Raleigh's. So was a pretty well-known company making products like face cream. And you don't often see get it with a lid. So I'm gonna say $12 on that one. Maybe as much as 15 because it's nice and big. It's a bigger size face cream, like a Pond's. Okay, so another item that I picked up, I remember buying these and I was so mad. I thought the bag said $1 for some reason, and I didn't find out until I got home that it was $4. And it was filled with little bags of buttons. So I'll just show you a couple. I'm definitely gonna get my money back. That's not really a problem. I have a jar in my antique booth filled with buttons for sale. So I'd probably put $1 or $2 on these. It's just a nicely shaped plastic button. Same with these little green buttons. Probably put 2 on those. And then other green buttons. It looks like there's some blue in there. At Christmas time, I glue buttons onto bingo cards, like over each number, and sell those for $12. I'll link to the article where, oh no, I have a whole article on how to make those little bingo cards. So I do it with white buttons, red buttons, and green buttons. And then here's a pair of, these are metal. I have 2 of those. Thought those were interesting, so I might put $3 on that bag. And then here's some brown buttons, plastic molded, $1 or $2. And there was a bag of miscellaneous. I'll use those for crafts. And then there was this thingy. It's got a hook on it. I feel like it was probably a clip for like a shoe, or I don't know, for whatever. I don't know. Maybe you know. It's a little plastic hook there so you could hang it. It just seems like for some sort of craft that I will need that. So that was $4 buttons and $2 watch. I make bracelets out of these. Five old antique watch faces on a bracelet, and I sell them for $67 on Etsy. And then I picked up these charms. So I use charms like, say, this locket. That's one charm that's on there, for bookmarks, metal bookmarks. And I do have an article about how I make those. And I'll use the heart for the bookmark. And then there's XO on there. And I'm going to make a pair of earrings out of those, if you can see those. XO. There you go. And then these I'll remove and I'll use them for another project. Same with these little ones. So that was $1 for those. So I sell the bookmarks for $10. So that's 2 bookmarks is $20. And then the pair of earrings I will sell for $12. So that's, yeah, what's that math? $32. Yeah. Okay, picked up some scissors. Have an article all about different kinds of scissors. These are marked Italy. So after Germany and England, Italy is another location that made a lot of quality scissors. These will probably sell for 10 to 12. I sell them from my antique booth. And then this pair I'll probably put into like a spool of thread or a spool of string because it's a good size. And the only mark on it is clean cut. So I think they're American. They'd be American. And they were each 25 cents. Got to pick those up, right? Okay, so last item before we get to a few religious things is this is what I call a motto trivet, and I just posted a new article all about trivets, and it has a section on motto. And because it's Americana, you know, looking with the eagle and temperance, I thought it would sell pretty well. The only mark on the back is made in the US, and I will put 10 or 12 on that one. And those sell really quite well for me from my antique booth. So last few items, like I said, are religious. I got a free bag of religious items, and so I thought that was a great way to sort of start seeing how things sell. Now I haven't listed any of these yet, but I did just sell a beautiful gold frame, like a diptych. I think I showed it in one of my videos, not sure, but anyway, I sold that on Etsy for a lot of really good money. So I've also sold rosaries on Etsy for a good amount. So I might bundle some of these things together and see how they do. So first, a few, I would call these celluloid. That's just a little like statue thingy. This is a holy water holder, like for your household. And then this was a little rosary. It says my rosary, a little rosary holder. It's a little bit warped up there. And these are so interesting. So it looks like a little pill box. And you open it up, untwist the lid, and inside there's Jesus with a crown of thorns. Would you carry this in your pocket, like as a reminder, or, you know, to pray with or to? And then here's, I think that's like Jesus as a toddler. I'm not really sure. Have no idea. Never seen anything like that before. There were several medallions. Here's a couple of them. And I make bracelets with these medallions and sell them in the same price range as I do the watch bracelets. And then here's this little case with a little plastic Jesus. That's like a young, a youth. Jesus as a youth with a crown. I have some of these that are metal, and they have little metal figures in them, and I'm going to group them all together and sell them one by one, but on Etsy. And $10, something like that for those. I thought this was so sweet. This is a little booklet. It's the Lord's Prayer, but I thought, oh my gosh, those images are so sweet. But again, I have some prayer books, children's prayer books. I'm going to try to group them together and see how they do on Etsy, and I'll let you know. So last two items, religious items. I have two pieces of wall art depicting the Last Supper. So I thought this was particularly nice with just a nice little frame. It's definitely older, right? You can tell from the back. And it was $1, and I think I might start at 25 to see how it does. It might not sell for that amount. There's not as many people interested in religious items as in some others. This one also old. This is Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper. See how old that is? And it was 25 cents. So again, 25, 28. Give that a try. See how it does. All right, so I promised to show you what recently sold on Etsy, and that is 2 Limoges butter pats. Pretty little butter pats with a 22 karat gold rim and the green stripe. Here is the mark on the back. So France is right in the middle, and then Limoges is at the bottom, and then at the top would be the distributor in New York, Higgins and Setter. I think that's what it is. So this pair sold for $28 on Etsy. I could not get that anywhere near that amount from my antique booth. I would have to price, maybe the set would sell for $10 from my antique booth. And yes, I have tested that with other butter pats. So I just wanted to encourage you to give butter pats a try. Now, it's not just, at this point, I have sold really unique and interesting butter pats, not just sort of butter pats from Japan. I haven't really tried that. I have tried Nippon. Nicer hand-painted Nippon has sold well. So if I were you, I would start with something that is a quality piece like Limoges, or Ironstone butter pats sell like hotcakes, something like that. And then let me know how it goes for you, okay? All right. I hope you enjoyed today's finds, and as always, happy hunting.